Abhyasena tu Kaunteya,
Abhyasena tu Kaunteya,
Vairagena Chagrihyate,
Vairagena Chakrishyate,
Samshayam Mahabhavo,
Asamshayam Mahabhavo,
Mano Durnigraham Shalam, Abhyasena tu Kaunteya,
Abhyasena tu Kaunteya,
Vairagena Chagrihyate,
Vairagena Chakrishyate.
It's 6:35.
Asamshayam Mahabhaho,
Samshayam Mahabhavo,
Manodur Nigraham Chalam,
Mano Durnigraham Shalam,
Abhyasena tu Kaunteya,
Abhyasena tu Kaunteya,
Vairagena Chakrishyate,
Vairagena Chagrihyate.
Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha,
Asamshayam Mahabhavo
Asamshayam Mahabhavo,
Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya
Abhyasena tu Kaunteya,
Vairagena Chakrihate
Vairagena Chakrishyate.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha,
Asamchaya Mahabhavo
Samshaya Mahabhavo,
Manoduni Graham Charam
Manoduri Graham Chalam,
Abhyasena tu Kunteya
Abhyasena tu Kaunteya,
Vairagena Chagriyate
Vairagena Chagrihyate. Yes, Kanti.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha,
Samshaya Mahabhaho
Samshaya Mahabhavo,
Manoduni Graham Shalam
Manoduri Graham Shalam,
Abhyasena tu Kanteya
Abhyasena tu Kaunteya,
Vairagena Chagriyate
Vairagena Chagrihyate. Shri Bhagavan Vacha,
Shri Bhagavan Vacha,
the personality of Godhead, said,
the personality of Godhead said,
Asamshayam,
Asamshayam,
undoubtedly,
undoubtedly,
Mahabhaho,
Mahabhaho,
O mighty armed one,
Almighty One,
Manaha,
Manaha,
the mind,
the mind,
Durnigraham,
Durnigraham,
difficult to curb,
difficult to curb,
Shalam,
Shalam,
flickering,
flickering,
Abhyasena,
Abhyasena,
by practice,
by practice,
to, but,
but,
Kaunteya,
Kaunteya,
O son of Kunti,
O son of Kunti,
Vairagena,
Vairagena,
by detachment,
by detachment,
Cha,
Cha,
also,
Grihate,
Grihate, can be so controlled.
can be so controlled.
Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Purport. The difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the supersoul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. The more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna, the more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical, because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called parishanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction. Whatever it's, there's an open window or something here. Whatever. It's a little much, maybe.
Whereas when the wind blows through, when you open that one, then the air comes through. One of the things doesn't move.
By discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mind, the mad mind. And eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. Om Jnana Jnananjana Shalataya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakata Mahyam Tathati Shapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapalakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Shadushatam Shahagana Raganathan Vitam Stam Savivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lolita Sri Vishakam Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Bhakta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishabhan Sute Devi Pranamami Bodhi Priye Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Jayadvaita Vaishnavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srila Hari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Asamshayam Mahabhaho Mano Durnigram Shana Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagena Chakriyate. Lord Krishna has explained to Arjuna the Ashtanga Yoga system, the system of sitting postures and breathing exercises and so on. And Arjuna has expressed his inability to follow such a system. Arjuna says that the mind is so restless and unsteady that I think that trying to control the mind by this system is more difficult than trying to control a hurricane. So Lord Krishna agrees, assumption. Without a doubt, yes, you're right. Oh, Mahabhaho, Arjuna, you're a very powerful person. You're my personal friend. And even you say that you can't follow it. So yes, I accept. Because mano durnigraham chalam. The mana, the mind, is chalam. Always moving around, unsteady, flickering. And durnigraha. Nigraha means controlling. Durnigraha, very difficult to control. So yes, you're right. But abhyasena tu kaunte, vairagena chakriyate. The mind can be controlled. How is that? Abhyasa. Abhyasena, by suitable practice. And the word here, suitable, which Srila Prabhupada supplies in the translation, is exactly to the point. There are certain kinds of practice that will get you nowhere. You can practice and practice and practice, and it won't be effective. But suitable practice will work. We were discussing the other day that there's kind of practice that's done in yoga studios and such places. And it doesn't control the mind. Often it doesn't aim at controlling the mind. You just want to feel better, look better. And the mind just wanders wherever it wants. Or there's another kind of meditation where the student is advised, just let your mind go wherever it will go. Just the opposite of what is recommended by the standard yoga authorities on yoga. Well, just let your mind wander. It's already wandering. I don't need a yogi to tell me that. So that kind of practice doesn't really go anywhere, spiritually speaking. And another disadvantage is that when it does have some spiritual aim, the aim is usually at something vague, impersonal, diffuse, unspecific. And to fix one's mind on something of that nature is very difficult. In the 12th chapter, the Lord says, Tesha, Klesho Tikataras Tesha, Avyakta Sakta Chetasa, Avyakta Higatir Dukam Deha Vabhira. My dear Arjuna, to try to fix one's mind on something avyakta means unmanifest, impersonal, is just troublesome. Klesha means trouble. Klesha adhikataras, adhikataras, trouble and more trouble. How do we fix the mind on something that has no form, no qualities, no activities? There's nothing to which the mind can be pinned. Only it's not this, it's not that, it's not this, it's not that. But how do you fix your mind on a knot? Even it's well known that if you fix things, if I suggest to you not think of a green rabbit, immediately you'll think of a green rabbit. And then you have to draw an X through it, not a green rabbit. So that kind of meditation is difficult, exceedingly difficult, Krishna says. And therefore practicing that kind of meditation is troublesome from beginning to end. So here, Srila Prabhupada gives a different kind of practice. The practice is Krishna consciousness involving 9 kinds of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Bhavasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam, hearing, chanting, remembering, and so on. And of all of these, Srila Prabhupada points to hearing as the first and foremost. Simply, we have to hear. And what should we hear about? We should hear about Shravanam Kirtanam. Satam prasangat manaviri sampano bhavanti hridkarma rasayana. We should hear about Krishna in the association of devotees of Krishna, because then the potency of the transcendental subject matter will be realized. Hearing from non-devotee academics or yogis or what have you, professional reciters, will not help us. But hearing from devotees of Krishna will be potent, will be effective. So as Prabhupada says, this is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The mind becomes purified by hearing the transcendental vibration of the holy name of Krishna, by hearing topics of Krishna. So this is the medicine. Bhavoshada Strota Manobhira. What is that? Nivrittatar Sharupaniyamana. Bhavoshada. Bhava means birth and death. And Oshadhi means medicine. So Bhavoshadhi. Bhavoshadhi means the medicine that cures the disease of repeated birth and death. People win the Nobel Prize for finding some medicine to deal with this or that disease. But here's the disease, the medicine to cure the disease of birth and death. Enechio shoti maya nashi pralamati. Harinam mahamantra bhakti. By hearing and chanting mantra. And by hearing topics of Krishna, we accept the right medicine. And this is practical. You can go on and on hearing about Krishna, to hear about no form, no qualities, no this, no that. That doesn't go very far. But hearing about Krishna, we can go on and on and on and on. Vayam Tripyama Uttama Shloka Vikrame Yas Trindatam Rasakyana Svadu Svadu Padeka. The Naimisharanya sages expressed to Sutta Goswami, Vayam Tripyama. We never get tired of hearing these topics about Krishna. Uttama Shloka. Krishna is called Uttama Shloka because the verses concerning Krishna are beyond the darkness of this material world. Uttama Shloka Vikram. Krishna is called Vikram because his activities are extraordinary. They're not the activities of an ordinary human being, nor the activities of some fictional character. They're the actual activities of the personality of Godhead. Vikram. Vikram, yes. He acts wonderfully. Yat Shrimvatam Rasagana. By hearing these topics, Rasagana. Yat Shrimvatam Rasagana. Those who know what nectar is will relish these topics. Svadu, svadu, pade, pade. At every step there'll be more, the topics will be more and more relishable. The material world, any topic becomes hackneyed after some time. Dull, not very interesting, predictable, routine, useless. We get tired. Tired of hearing these topics. But when there are topics about Krishna discussed in the association of pure devotees, the topics become more and more relishable. The Parikshit Maharaj, for the last 7 days of his life, just wanted to hear about Krishna. And Sukadeva Goswami just wanted to speak about Krishna. So this is perfection, to hear about Krishna. And the mind naturally becomes drawn to Krishna. When we hear about Krishna, we become attracted to Krishna. Krishna's first wife, Rukmini, how did she become attracted to Krishna? The Srimad Bhagavatam says she never met Krishna, she never saw Krishna, but she was the daughter of a king, and great sages like Narada used to come to the palace, and they would naturally speak about Krishna. So by hearing about Krishna, she became attracted that I have to have Krishna as my husband. No one else will be suitable. Just by hearing. Just by hearing. Hearing is so powerful. So this is the method. By hearing, the mind becomes drawn to Krishna. Hearing process is even more potent than seeing. Seeing is less powerful. If you're sleeping, I may hold a picture in front of your eyes, like a sign, wake up. But how do you set an alarm? It's always something to hear. The alarm goes off, whatever your tune is. The alarm goes off, and by hearing, we wake up. So the sense of hearing is very powerful. And we get knowledge by hearing. One goes to school and one hears. So hearing about Krishna means the mind naturally goes to Krishna. And then, when the mind is going toward Krishna, naturally the mind is moving away from everything else. naturally the mind is moving away from everything else. This is called vairagya. Abhyasena tu kaunteya, vairagyena chariyate. It's possible to control the mind by suitable practice and by vairagya, detachment. Raga means attachment, we're attached to so many things. Vairagya, freedom from attachment. So how do we become free from attachment? One way is just by working at it. I have to put this aside, I have to put that aside, I have to give up this, I have to give up that. No more of this. There may be some that may be effective to some extent. But more effective is if I become attracted to something else. If I become attracted to something else. I'm holding on to a couple of old biscuits and I'm hungry, so you say, give up those biscuits. I'm not going to give up those biscuits. That's what I have to eat. But if I give you a big tray with samosas and sweet rice and gulab jamuns and so many things, then you'll just put those old biscuits aside. Abraso varjan rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. When one gets a better thing, he automatically gives up the lesser thing. So the better thing is Krishna consciousness. And when one hears about Krishna, then one loses the taste for hearing about other things. Materialists, they have to have the daily newspaper to read about politics and sports and whatever the latest war news is. But for the Krishna conscious person, and then the next day, the newspaper is gone, they use it to wrap their fish in. But no one wants to reread the newspaper. Oh, that was so good, let me do it again. And it's not that after reading the newspaper, you feel so good. You don't feel ecstasy that you're glowing. What? Oh, I just read the newspaper. If anything, we read the newspaper and we become maybe a little depressed, a little. That's all it was. But by hearing about Krishna, one becomes enlightened. The Parikshit Maharaj said, I don't even care that I'm not eating and not drinking. I'm drinking this nectar of Krishna. So I'm not feeling any fatigue. This swadu, pade, I'm drinking nectar at every step. But when one is drinking the nectar of Krishna consciousness, the mind becomes satisfied. Prashanta nishesha manoratanta. Mind by nature is always wandering here and there. But by hearing about Krishna, by being engaged in devotional service to Krishna, it becomes prashanta. Satisfied. Bhaktir parishanam bhava. Viraktir anyatracha. By devotional service to Krishna, starting with hearing, but one becomes satisfied. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of a person who's eating. By eating, you don't have to ask him, are you satisfied? He'll say, yes, now I'm full, I don't want to eat anymore, I'm satisfied. So the Krishna conscious person becomes happy and satisfied by hearing about Krishna. And by serving Krishna in different ways. Yes. And therefore, vairagya automatically follows. Janiti yashu vairagya jnanam Jayadvaita. By devotional service to Krishna, one automatically develops transcendental knowledge and becomes detached from material activities, material engagements. So therefore the secret is go on hearing, go on hearing, go on hearing. And along with hearing, by hearing naturally chanting. If I hear about something, then I start wanting to talk about that something. Tell others. So hearing leads to chanting. By hearing about Krishna, we develop enthusiasm to speak about Krishna. Hearing, chanting, and by hearing and chanting, naturally we think of Krishna, we remember Krishna. Automatically. If we hear about other things, then the mind becomes filled with those other things. And then the mind becomes unhappy. The newspapers, the internet, there's television, there's so many things to fill the mind with this and that and this and that. And the mind just becomes more and more dissatisfied. The mind becomes more and more dissatisfied, or more and more agitated, disturbed by what we hear, by what we see. By hearing about Krishna, the mind becomes purified, the mind becomes peaceful, the mind becomes joyful. And that's the perfect engagement of the mind. And because of that perfect engagement, vairagya, automatically detachment follows. Shamiti Ashu Vairagya. So this is, as Prabhupada says, practical. In medical treatment, there are two things. There's medicine and there's diet. Now, in modern medicine, it's just eat whatever you want, just take our pills. But in natural medicine, some dietary guidelines are to be followed, and proper treatment, proper medicine. So the medicine is this hearing about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, devotional service to Krishna. And the diet is Krishna Prasad, the food offered to Krishna. And we see that this is effective by meditating in various yoga studios. People don't make very much progress. Maybe they do feel better, maybe they do look better for a while. But they don't become detached, seriously detached from material activities. And they don't become, what's the word, immersed in their connection with the Supreme. But by, which is the object of yoga. Yoga finally means to become connected with the Absolute. So practicing this and that, either that is never their goal to begin with, or it's their goal that the means doesn't get them there. Gets to some fuzzy, impersonal, all-pervading something or other that they can't really fix their lives on. But here it's practical. By taking up this process of Krishna consciousness, one can go on and on, hearing about Krishna, thinking about Krishna, serving Krishna in different ways. And the mind becomes absorbed. And therefore, just our preliminary activity or preliminary restriction is easy for those who take into Krishna consciousness. Someone begins chanting, begins taking up the program of Krishna consciousness, taking Krishna prasadam, and then these four regular principles becomes easy to follow. No gambling, no meat eating, no intoxicants, no illicit sex. The person who's Krishna conscious, what do I want to do that for? Well, I used to do that, that was so nasty. Automatically one develops distaste for these things. Jayadvaita Krishna Pradhan. One develops it. Never. it develops into an ever new, ever fresh taste in Krishna consciousness, and easily gives up these same things. You should have probably told about some yogi in New York, some yoga teacher from India. He's teaching postures and breathing exercises and all of that stuff. And he asked one of Prabhupada's students for advice on how to give up smoking. So, but the Hare Krishna, by taking up chanting Hare Krishna, one automatically gives up these lower things. And therefore, as Prabhupada said, it's practical. Finally, we have to do something doable, something practical. And not only is it practical, but it brings one to the right goal. So, therefore, vairagena chikriyate abhyasena tukamteya. This is the way to control the mind, to engage it in the service of Krishna. All right, are there some comments or questions? One or the other?
So if it's so easy, why don't more people adopt this process?
They're not interested. If it's so easy, why don't more people take up this process? They're not interested. That's the power of Maya. They're thinking that why should I give up? Why should I take interest in this? Let me do something, whatever they're doing. Let me go on suffering. Or another reason is they haven't heard. They haven't come in touch with devotees. It's, you have, what would you say, sticks and leaves that could catch fire, but there has to be a match. Otherwise, it doesn't catch. So the people, the world need the association of devotees. They may have a little interest, they may be a little disgusted with material life, but they don't have proper direction, what to do, where to go. So it's very important for the devotees to go from place to place, city to city, town to town, house to house, to enlighten people about Krishna consciousness. And then people can, yes, no, this is wonderful. People take to it. How did we come? Someone, we heard somewhere a message of Krishna. We thought this was nice. So there's more people also waiting to become Krishna conscious. And therefore our duty is to reach out to them, give them that opportunity. Yes.
In previous ages, the processes for self-realizations were meditation in Satya Yuga, for instance, on the Lord for a very long time, and it required so much austerity and determination. And now in this age, in Kali Yuga, which is the most fallen age, where people are the most fallen, we are getting the most amazing mercy, the best mercy, which is simply by chanting, we are able to reach the goal, ultimately, simply by chanting Hare Krishna. So my question is, how do we understand that the devotees from Satya Yuga, who were so much pious, they were actually Paramahamsas, they didn't have access to the highest mercy, which is to reach Golo Vrindavan via the service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we, the most fallen, have access to this mercy. So does it mean that these devotees of Satya Yuga and other yugas, were not originally devotees from Golo Vrindavan, but rather from Vaikuntha? Or is it that,
this question is getting a little long and hard to follow.
We can hear.
Um, hmm. The
So
beginning,
I can repeat it if you like.
No,
Did you get it fully or not?
well, I was following along, but to keep it in mind and also to sort it out, to capture your soft voice and French accent and put it into something that my mind can hold on to. It's something of a challenge. So, in the beginning, you were speaking about Satya Yuga and how fortunate people were. They were all advanced. They could meditate for thousands of years. And in Kali Yuga, where it's the opposite, we're impious. We have short lifetimes. And yet, in Kali Yuga, people can take to this Krishna consciousness by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I got that far, and then it started to get a little complicated. So what's the next step?
Yes, but because I was just wondering how come we have access to Golo Vrindavan through the process of chanting the Mahamantra.
How come we have access to Goloka Vrindavan by chanting the Maha Mantra,
Yes, because
and in
it's
Satya Yuga they didn't?
Yes, they didn't have the Mahamantra in Satya Yuga.
It was there in the Vedas. Maha Mantra was there, but it's a fact. Gunagra Sarabhaga. If anyone happen to know this, Gunagya Sarabhaga.
Gunagya,
Sarabhaga.
Sarva,
Bhaga, if I remember.
Sarva Bhaga.
It's described that Kali Yuga is worshipped by those who really know what's great, because try this Kalau Sankirtya Kesha.
Kalo Sankirtya Kesha.
That'll come up easier. Kalau
Sankirtya Kesha.
Kesha. Yeah.
Kesha. Canto 12, 352.
Oh, that sounds like a great number. Yes, 12,352. What does it say?
Krite yadhyayato Vishnum Tretayam yajato Makai Dwapare Paricharyayam Kalo Tadhari Kirtana.
Wrong verse.
Kalo Sankirtya Kesha.
Good number, but it's the wrong verse.
Is in the Bible town the verse?
Oh, it's quoted in the purport from Brihan Naradiya Puranam. Dhyayam krite yajan yagyais tretayam dwaparer chayam yadapnoti tadapnoti kalo sankirta keshavam. Whatever is achieved by meditation in Satya Yuga, by the performance of sacrifice in Treta Yuga, and by the worship of Lord Krishna's lotus feet in Dwapara Yuga, is obtained in the age of Kali simply by glorifying the name of Lord Keshava.
Well, you found the right verse, but I've mixed two verses up now. We still have to find Gunagya Sarabhaga. Is it there in the same purport? It could be.
Is that one word?
Hmm?
Gunagya?
Gunagya, I don't know whether it's hyphenated or Gunagya Sarabhaga. The meaning is that those who Gunagya, those who know of good quality when they see one, knowers of good quality, Gunagya, Sarabhaga, and those who think about it. Even if you just look for Gunagya and Sara. Sara means the essence, those who know how to appreciate the essence. Worship Kali Yuga. Because in this age, just by Krishna Kirtan, one can achieve all perfection. it's good fortune. You know, in one sense we say, why should, you know, some good fortune is given to some undeserving person. And we say, why? You know, why him? There were so many qualified people. And that's called causeless mercy. And to be fallen is not a great accomplishment. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu uplifts the most fallen. Yes, you found it.
Yes, found it.
Okay.
So, Bhagavatam 11.536 Kalim sabha jayantyarya gunagya sarabhaginaha yatra sankirtanenaiva sarvaswarto pilabhyate. Those who are actually advanced in knowledge are able to appreciate the essential value of this age of Kali. Such enlightened persons worship Kali Yuga because in this fallen age, all perfection of life can easily be achieved by the performance of Sankirtan.
Yay!
That's causeless mercy. The Nagapatnis were praying to Krishna. Krishna was dancing on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent. And the wives of the Kaliya serpent were praying to Krishna. What pious activities must this serpent have performed? Even Brahma couldn't get the dust of your lotus feet on his head. And he's Brahma. He's the most pious soul in the universe. He's the most learned. He's the most advanced. And he couldn't get the dust of your lotus feet. And this serpent, this poisonous, envious serpent, is getting the dust pounded into his hands. But what pious activities must he have performed? So this is the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No question of what pious activities have we could. Just, that's causeless mercy. No causeless means no reason. Not that we look and say, well, they did this, they did this, they did this. Just someone decide you have some, well, there used to be a television show in America called The Millionaire. And every episode involved the same millionaire who would take a cashier's check for $1 million and give it to someone. And then some of the things would happen. But they'd just give it to someone. No apparent reason. But someone would just get the check for $1 million. Like that. Krishna comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He doesn't consider who's eligible, who's not eligible, who's fit, who's not fit. He just distributes. So even in Kali Yuga. Therefore, those who are advanced in knowledge worship Kali Yuga. What a great Yuga. In spite of all its awful, miserable qualities, this one great thing is there. Kirtana Deva Krishnasya. Mukta Sandha Paramrita. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Yeah, because I was wondering, we all coming from the spiritual world, according to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, someone's translating you, and at the same time you're speaking softly, and the result is I'm not hearing anything.
Okay, I try to speak louder.
There you go.
Thank you. So, yeah, according to Srila Prabhupada, gosh, I forgot what I wanted to say. Anyway, the idea is that, does it mean when the devotees from the previous yugas who don't have access to Madhurya Ras, right? And the holy
I'd say devotees in previous yugas don't have access to Madhurya Ras and all of those things.
Yes.
So what does it mean about their eternal constitutional position and so on? Yes. Yes, Maharaj.
You could cite the sages of Dandakaranya, for instance, who were attracted to conjugal relationship, but that was the wrong
Age.
age. So if that is actually, I mean, it is not a mechanical thing, obviously. The soul is, has its nature, or is, it's bad, whatever. It would seem that they would, that opportunity would be given, as they were given to the sages of Dandakaranya.
They were some sages sent from Dandakaranya, and they were attracted to Lord Ramchandra in a conjugal relationship. And Lord Ramchandra said, I don't deal in this. I have my wife, that's it. But you can come in Dwarpa Yuga when Krishna's there, and that's where you'll get your aspirations satisfied. So somehow or other, there's an arrangement by Krishna, by which it all gets sorted out, and everyone winds up where they're supposed to be.
You better take advantage, because the Kali Yuga is not necessarily the whole of the Yuga, is it, Maharaj?
No, it's not the whole thing. Some maybe 10,000 years. No, we don't have 10,000 years in this lifetime. Don't shut this one. Okay, we're at 8 o'clock. And I was asked to speak about Srila Prabhupada's activities or my memories of Srila Prabhupada. I don't usually do that, but tomorrow we can do it again.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bhakti Jai. Bhagavatam class tomorrow morning until Jayadvaita Maharaj. 8 o'clock.
Swami Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj ki
Jai.